hear you. Still the same? Do you want to check your audio setting? Abi dengar tadi. Tadi. Still we could not hear you. Are you able to speak without your headphone?
Hello.
Yes.
Okay.
We can,
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for the technical problem. So I'm on. Today I will with you within 15 minutes. I will share with you the digital transformation in the construction industry in Malaysia. So basically, this most of the materials that I refer to will be basically from the CIDB Malaysia and in terms of Malaysia context, right? So basically today, I will cover some of the Malaysia's overall ranking first before I go into this digital transformation, because it carries some of the reasons behind why we need actually digital transformation in Malaysia in construction industry, and some of the issues and challenges faced by our construction industry in Malaysia, and also by some of the emerging technologies that actually transforming our construction industry in Malaysia, right? So before I think let's us have a clear mind on these three terms, which is the digitalization, and also digital transformation. So digitalization refer to the conversion of the analog to digital, which is always referring to the data. And for digitalization, it is talking about the adaptation in terms of the process. Currently, our summit name, right, is focusing more to digitalization, digital transformation, which is focusing on the creation in terms of the business. So for digital transformation, actually, it can be defined as the use of the computer or internet technology for a more efficient and effective economic value creation process, right? It also can be defined as the changes, referring to the changes that new technology has on the whole, on how actually we operate, interact, and configure on, and also how wealth is created within this system. So in conventional way, we are always focusing on the business strategy, on how should we be competent in this business, and also the functional strategy on how actually can this function contribute to the competitive advantage of the business. But in current century, we are actually focusing on this digital transformation strategy that actually focusing on how actually we can incorporate the business, right, the opportunity of the digital economy, right? So the following slides, I will show some of the statistics, right, based on the Malaysian context ranking. So now, the Malaysian readiness based on the performance, based on the Global Competitiveness Report in 2019, we actually, Malaysia was ranked 27, and for the Global Innovation Index, right, we were ranked about 35th, and lastly is about the IMD World Competitiveness Ranking, we were ranked at 22nd. So in terms of the competitiveness, actually we divided into three categories, which is in terms of talent of people or society, technology, and also legalization. And in terms of the talent, people, and society, we were ranked 19, right? According to the IMD World Digital Competitiveness, and according to the Change Readiness Index, basically Malaysia was ranked 31st. And in terms of the technology, Malaysia was ranked 33rd in IMD World Digital Competitiveness, and we were ranked 31st in the Global Competitiveness Report, and we were also ranked 33rd in the Global Innovation Index. So in terms of the aspect of the legalization, we were basically ranked in the 40th, right, by Global Innovation Index, and was ranked at 29th by IMD World Digital Competitiveness. So these basically are the ranking based on the Malaysian context. And I believe that for the ASEAN countries, we will also, some of the countries also within the rank, right? So in Malaysia, based on the GDP by sector, according to the previous years, between 2015 to 2018, in the construction industry, we contributed actually about 5%, right, of the total GDP by sectors. And this 5%, although is a small amount, but it is also a great impact to the whole industry. So in this, for the Malaysian government, actually Malaysian government has aimed to reach the GDP goal of about 3.4 trillion by 2030, with the country's GDP growth at the average growth rate of 4.7% annually from 2021 and up to 2030. So this is basically the GDP that we are aiming, and to achieve that, basically we need to have some approach, and especially in terms of the digital transformation effort. The construction industry, for the data that I collected, basically for the small company, small company, it contributed the most percent for the construction industry, which is about 72%, and for the large company, it's about 11%. And whereas by comparing by gender, for the male in the construction industry, that involved in the construction industry carries about 79%, all right, whereas for the female is about 21%. Of course, the role of the female or woman engineers in the construction industry currently, I think, will be playing more important roles as time goes, and also in the future as well. And in terms of the distribution of the employees' skill level, for the high skill level in Malaysia, we have about 36% currently in 2018, right? So based on this data, actually, we are going to have some analysis on some of the issues and also some of the challenges we face in terms of these digital transformations. So these issues and challenges, basically I divided into 4 categories. The first one is in terms of the people, right? And the second one in terms of the economy. And then the third one is integrated technologies. And then lastly is a governance, right? So in terms of people, so these are the list of some of the issue challenges that we face, Malaysia facing for each of these respective aspect. So for the first one, for the people, so we believe that existing education programs are not actually aligned with the industrialized 4.0. And then the second one is readiness of the workforce, and then difficulties in recruiting the high-skilled talent and also the future-ready workforce. Lack of R&D activities, the diversity of the talents based on the generation differences, right? And we have a lack of the employee readiness and also the strong resistance to the change. So that's the change in the technologies. So the organizations are not fully ready to support the digital transformation, right? The changes in job pattern, and then the lack of awareness of the IR 4.0, the emigration of the highly trained and qualified workforce, and also the dependency of the foreign talent. Basically, for some of the construction project, we are really dependent on some of the foreign talent, which we import the designer, right? Probably the designer from the other countries to actually support. Right, and also we are also having an unclear of the current revolution status. In terms of the governance, basically we have unclear vision and direction of the construction 4.0, right, and also some of the lack of the ability in designing policy, right, and lack of the clear standards of the equipment or system that support IR 4.0 technologies. In fact, construction industry affects the digital transformation, and some of the little collaboration, little cross-functional cooperation in improving the government overall performance and readiness, collaboration among stakeholders, right, being too conservative in some of the organization culture. involvement of the different entities in ownership of IR 4.0 that actually leads to the confusion over the data ownership, right? And some of the concerns around the loss of the control over intellectual property. So we are talking about IP, and also the attraction for the local entrepreneurs, right? Innovative startup through the investment and the knowledge. So in terms of the economy, right? So we are actually having a high maintenance of the cost throughout the life cycle, in the construction life cycle, and the capacity in providing the incentives or the financial support from the government for 4.0 IO 4.0 technologies development are actually less. And we are also having a high cost in the implementation for the technology investment or software and materials, and also the impact on the tax reduction for the project implement the 4.0 technologies development, and higher training costs, right? Readiness of the market trends and patterns, and ability of internal construction markets, right? Transformation of the business models of the industry, right? And also the bridging formation in ensuring the basic infrastructure to provide the economic opportunities for the public. So lastly, right, some of the issues and challenges faced by the integrated technologies, right, are the lack of the understanding and adaptation of the emerging technologies, the availability of the reliable infrastructure such as internet connectivity for certain areas, right, for certain rural areas in Malaysia, and lack of the local technology developer require high cost of the implementation and investment, and also the expensive training session, lack of the technology integration, adaptation. So a conflicting view of the implement and also the implementation, the e-submission and approval, especially to the authority, and insufficient of the consistency of the progress execution, right? Unwillingness of the data sharing between the private data and also, of course, the government data. Also, lack of the financial support from the government, all right, and lack of the some of the standardization work, right, for these technologies, especially in terms of the mechanical technologies or some of the construction technologies. So I believe ASEAN countries can actually do it better in terms of the standardization, right? So some of other issues, for example, like poor understanding of new business models and also cyber security threats, right, to our country. So basically, based on these issues and challenges, basically our government basically have introduced some of the this construction 4.0 program, and also some of the to focus on some of the emerging technologies. So there are really 12 emerging technologies that will be achieved, that is in the target of our government in the short term, medium term, and as well as the long term basis. So in terms of short term, in the construction, right, industry, Malaysia will be focusing on the prefabrication, right, and also the modular construction, which is basically talking about the manufacturing process of the whole precasting products, for example, right? All the components of the precast will be cast at the factory and then will be transferred to the site. So this is talking about the modular construction method, and the BIM, right? Building information modeling. So I believe that the previous speakers has actually touched a lot in this BIM, right? And then automation, autonomous construction, as what our organizing chair, Professor Tan, mentioned, the automation, right? And this one is focusing on in terms of the construction, right? So other than this is augmented reality and virtualization, right? Cloud and real-time collaboration. So which is talking about some of the collaboration for the construction professional. So lastly is on the 3D scanning and photogrammetry, so which is quite new currently in Malaysia. So if let's say we are talking about the medium term, we are actually focusing on the big data and predictive analytic, right? Which is actually talking about describing about the efficiently handle the large amount of the project's data by the efficiently storage, right? Storaging and also the process by using a community server. So this is basically a very important a move by Malaysia. And the second thing is the Internet of Things. So basically, it is the development of the IoT, right, that enables in detecting the surroundings, environment conditions, right, which sensed by the objects or devices. So this is will be basically a lot of sensors installed at the buildings or any warning sensors installed at the machinery so that it will actually give the warning to the construction worker if let's say the machinery is overweight or will be actually unstable, right? So these are some of the medium terms emerging technologies. And I think when we are talking about the long term, Malaysia, we are actually focusing on the 3D printing, right? Which is actually quite familiar and quite popular in our in the Europe country. And they have done a lot of the research R&D in this 3D printing, which also called as the digital printing. So, which is a process, right, to create or recreate a physical object that model in the digital version that by depositing the layers of the materials. So I believe that in Malaysia or the ASEAN countries, actually basically the academic, right, or the researchers can actually focus on this 3D printing, all right, because it can actually give a lot of benefits to the society as well, right, especially for the affordable houses. If let's say we are talking about the 3D printing for the houses. And the advanced building materials, right? Advanced building materials in terms of maybe we'll be focusing on the sustainable materials, right? Or some of the recycled materials. And blockchain, right? I think we had just now one speaker is focusing on this blockchain. So basically this is the one and artificial intelligence, which is the AI, that actually allow the machines to mitigate the human cognitive functions to enable machines to conduct tasks that is usually performed by humans via a set of algorithm. So basically this 3D printing and this AI can be actually mixed together with these building materials. So these are some of the long terms that actually we can focus in not only in Malaysia, I believe, but also in the Asian country as well, right? So basically, amongst these 12 emerging technologies, basically it can be clustered into three main clusters. First one is which is BIM. The second one is a digitalization or the virtualization, which is focusing on IoT, blockchains, big data, AI. And then lastly is about talking about the smart factory, all right, in the construction industry, which is focusing on the advanced material, right? For the smart factory, we may introduce some advanced material, some automation for the vehicle, right? Some big data analysis, and also by using the modular system for the construction method, right? So this slide actually shows these stages, overall stages for a construction industry, right? From stage by stage, from the conceptual design, planning, design, procurement, construction, and up to the operation and maintenance. So basically, this kind of emerging technologies can actually be adopted by from stage one, right? Stage zero to up to the handover and usage, right? So basically here, this column will show the clusters or the cluster of technologies that actually can be involved, right, in the construction industry from stage 0 to stage 7. So basically, BIM from this chart shows the BIM will evolve from stage 0 to 7 as well as the modular construction method, right? And however, for the manufacturing sites, right, basically it's focusing on the IoT and also the automation of the construction, right? So these are some of the references that actually I think in future, in within 10 years, I hope that Malaysia, or not only Malaysia, ASEAN countries can actually focus on this in terms of construction industry, right? So in conclusion, in order to achieve a very resilient and also a sustainable construction in terms of digital transformation in construction industry, all stakeholders in the construction industry plays an important role, right? So first of all, I think it's the academia, which is the researchers, right, or the lecturers in the university. So they need to carry out all the research and development, which can actually be commercialized and to be commercialized to the industry, right, in terms of the technology, and as well as at last, it will actually benefit the society. So the society will actually need to carry out some of the collaboration platform for them. And lastly is about the support from the governments. So the advice government plays an important role from in terms of the leadership, in terms of the innovation support, rules and regulation, right, in the policies makers, because they are the policy makers, and the financial, in terms of financial and advisory. So basically, we hope I hope that actually all parties, all different stakeholders can work together in order to make this our construction industry to be really a digitalized industry. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.